front one also got a space. Taking a chill pill.
Good idea.
Just over 1 minute and 58 seconds into today's U.S. spacewalk number 91, as you see a great view of the communications team on the ground in the International Space Station Flight Control Room.
Handover, and we don't have your heck of views back yet, but can you repeat your last, Sunny?
Yeah, I think I got a turn on the forward one and the aft one. I'm pretty positive. And then the one that's in the center, I got like a half a turn. I feel like it's getting looser.
Copy, Sunny.
I continue to try to undo them?
Yeah, if you're seeing that bolt come looser, then you can continue, even if it's slow, and just trying to make small rotations there until we get to one turn.
Great communication there between the teams as they continue to work. Suni Williams, NASA astronaut, commander of Expedition 72 on the removal and replacement of the planar reflector. Nicole McElroy and her Vista flight team, the spacewalk flight director for today. And you heard Jessica Whitner, the spacewalk communicator, relaying the information up to Suni Williams.
And Sunny, we just want to confirm, do you have one turn now on all three bolts, or is there one bolt that's still causing issues?
It's just far away, so I haven't been putting my hand on it too far, but I got it to get looser. The one that's closest to Dragon, and I'm just worried about, leaning in too far. I got it to move. To stay away, can I just use the ratchet?
And Sunny, we're checking.
I'm choked up on it. I'm not super all the way out at the end of the ratchet. I got it to move.
Copy, Sunny. We just want you to stand by 1 second. We have your heck of view back now, and just give us a second to talk over the use of the ratchet.
Just while I've got a little break in the comms, I'm pointing my Hecka at location 5 in the 5 o'clock position. There's about 16 grids missing. It goes out radially, starting about from a third of the way, up from the center all the way to the edge. This is something that would have been obscured by my photos from the MRM2. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Copy, Nick. Just to confirm, it's at patch location 5 at the 5 o'clock position?
It is Charlie 5 at the wedge position 5.
Copy, Charlie 5 at the 5 o'clock position. All right, Nick, you have a go to install an extra patch there. It'll be patch number 9 to that Charlie 5 position.
Okay, didn't work. Resting up those arms, Suni?
What's that?
Said you resting up your arms?
Yeah. I mean, they all turned, so I'm not super worried about it. It would just be a little bit easier just because of the reach to use the ratchet.
Yeah.
Just slowly.
And Sunny, you have a go now to do what you were talking about earlier. So you can use the ratchet wrench. You just choke up on it like you were as much as possible and put as little force as you need to actually get that bolt to move. And we're still just looking to get to one turn on each bolt.
So I think I have one turn for sure on this forward bolt. No, I do. The aft bolt, let me just like a half a turn more. There we go. And the inner bolt, get like a 3/4 there. I just got it to get loose. Okay, I got like turn on each. You see space. The aft one, I'm not leaning in there, or the one farthest away from me, I'm not leaning in there, but it definitely turned.
Copy, Sunny. That is good words. With that, we are go to continue to release these bolts. So you can release by hand the bolts until they pop out. We expect them to pop out after 8 turns. So if you want to get all to 8 and then turn each one turn until they pop out, you can do that, or you can do each one individually.
Great communication there between the International Space Station Flight Control Room here in Houston, Texas, and NASA astronaut Suni Williams as she continues to work on the removal of the current planar reflector that is on the port, the zenith port of the Harmony module. And you can see with that somewhat red stripe and white structure just above her helmet cam view, that is the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft. That is how close in proximity she is working to the Crew 9 Dragon spacecraft to move this planar reflector. With a new one, as you can get a great view of that contamination on the planar reflector. And with the replacement of a new one, hopefully that reflective ability to allow for communications with visiting vehicles will improve. As she works around the 3 bolts that are currently attaching that planar reflector to that outward support system.
Additional turns on the aft one. I'm not able to do this just with my fingers.
Copy, Sunny. That's okay, and we're tracking your turns down here as well.
Working on the aft one again. Another turn, 4, coming up on 5. 5 turns on the aft. Five turns on the forward. You see the springs, but they're not popping yet.
Copy. That's expected.
More turns on the inboard. More turns on the forward.
Great views of NASA astronaut and commander of Expedition 72, Suni Williams, working on the removal and replacement of the planar reflector issuing equal torque to those 3 bolts to have that current planar reflector be removed and replaced with a new one to allow for greater communications ability for visiting vehicles.
Yes, Sunny, it looks like we're tracking about 7 total turns now on those 2 bolts, and once you get that aft one done, 7 as well. So you got 1 more turn before the potential for it to pop out.
I see it's moving now. Obviously, there's space. They all have 7 turns on them. 1 more turn on the forward.
Copy. And then once all these bolts pop out, I know you know this, but the reflector will be free to float. There's no soft dock.
It's tethered, just FYI. Forward, 1 turn more on the forward. I did 8, but it's not topped yet. One more turn on the aft. Turn on the inboard. Still stiff. I can't turn them with my hand. For the forward one.
Yeah, it's okay if you can't do it by hand, Sunny. What you're doing is fine, and then just check in every bolt turn at this point to see if they pop up.
Yep. One more in the front. It looks like it's popped up. Then the aft. On the inboard. Topping it. I think I have 9 turns on each so far. Correct?
Great communication and visuals from the ground team here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room. Farouk Sabor, the spacewalk lead officer, relaying to Flight Director Nicole McElroy that this view, Nick Hague, NASA astronaut out on EVA 91 alongside with Suni Williams, has completed the patches requested on the NICER experiment, the X-ray telescope that allows for X-ray measuring of neutron stars, black holes, and other phenomena as he continues to evaluate other potential areas of study and reviewing the work site. And you can see those pie-shaped wedges that were installed
while we have you, those patch locations
to allow the NICER to maintain full operation, especially during daylight passes for the International Space Station, and prevent unwanted sunlight from entering the experiment.
The EVA camera grid pattern perpendicular to as many of them as possible.
Okay, will do. I did want to report that, I'll try to put it in the HECA. There is an Delta 2, 3 o'clock position. There's 1, 2, 3, there's 9 grids missing. Outer third of the wedge on only half of it. It's a cluster.
The lead in the forward one.
Okay, Nick, team's talking. And copy, Sunny, left forward popped.
Meaning it's released.
I like that word better.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's all good.
Ash one's almost there. I can tell it's at 11. Ash one Oh, it's open. It's released. No, it's all released.
Awesome. I see it released.
12 all around.
Nice job.
Cappy, nice work. We're going to stow that in the EVA wipe and then send that back to the crew lock bag. Nick, for you, no patch on Delta 2 is the consensus by the team down here.
I'll finish up taking photos.
Copy.
That communication in relation to the nicer experiment that you are seeing in Nick Hague's helmet camera, EV1, on the left-hand side of your screen, as he has completed the patching of the damaged areas of the nicer experiment, the X-ray telescope, and a part of those 56 entries for light to enter, or I should say X-rays to enter, X-ray waves to enter and measure phenomena such as black holes and neutron stars. Those patches have been complete. And for Hague, he continues to take photos to evaluate potential future opportunities as well as just the overall state of the work site. On the right-hand side of your screen, you see NASA astronaut commander of Expedition 72, Suni Williams, working on the planar reflector. You heard communications between her and the ground team here at the International Space Station Flight Control Room in Houston that those 3 bolts were popping and starting to come out of place, in which that would allow her to remove the current planar reflector that has been contaminated and limiting its reflectivity. You can see that the space where it was is just right above her right hand. Those 3 bolts have been removed, and now we'll be able to replace it with a new piece that will allow for greater communications between visiting vehicles as they approach and dock with the International Space Station.
What's the plan for the install? Did you?
Yeah, Sonny, you're going to retrieve the spare planar reflector, the EVA wipe that's marked with tape, and then we're going to install that. So lock out the ret, tether point facing starboard or facing you, and then we're going to drive 2 turns on each bolt.
Got the spare. The red light goes.
Sonny, I know you're working crew lock bag ops right now still, but when you have a natural break, we will get a glove and hap check from you.
Okay. Gloves are nominal. Hap is dry.
Copy, glove and hap.
Got the spare. Out of the right.
And Sonny, for the install, you're going to use the palm wheel to start those bolts 2 turns, but don't use the actual handle of the ratchet wrench until we talk it over if you need it.
Trying to see if I can just start it by hand. That's a little bit hard.
All right, we copy, Sunny. We're 3 minutes to sunrise and still looking great on time, so take as much time as needed.
Turns on the front one.
Copy, 2 turns on the front one.
Turns on the aft one.
This is Mission Control Houston as we continue to follow along with today's coverage of US EVA 91, and you are seeing the view from the helmet camera and now an exterior camera on the International Space Station as Commander of Expedition 72, Suni Williams, is attaching the replacement of the planar reflector just outside of the zenith port of the Harmony module. And that helmet camera of Williams right now, she's tightening up the bolts, the 3 bolts that will secure the new planar reflector to its attachment just outside the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft, the Crew 9 spacecraft. And there you see a fantastic view of the upcoming orbital sunrise that will soon make its way over top of the International Space Station. We are just over 2 hours and 20 minutes into today's EVA as we are continuing to track the progress of both Suni Williams and Nick Hague as the International Space Station currently making its way into a orbital sunrise as mentioned. And again, another great view of that horizon just off on the right-hand side as the International Space Station currently passing over the Pacific Ocean.
Turns on the aft. Three turns on the forward, 3.5 turns on the forward. But the one that's inboard most, can I try to use the ratchet just because it's far for me, and I feel like I'm putting a side load by putting my hand over there? I have the other 2 down at least 3 turns. 3 on the front, 4 on the aft.
And copy, Sunny. We're good with your recommendation if you need to use the ratchet wrench very lightly like you did before. And if that works, you can.
Yeah, I got that one started now. 2 turns on the one that's on the port side.
Okay, copy. So we're tracking now. That is all 3 bolts started, correct?
Confirm. Because I'm on that one, I'm doing 2 more turns, so it's going to be 4 on that inboard one. Coming up.
Okay, copy, Sunny.
4 turns on the inboard one.
Copy. With that, we're expecting 9 to 15 turns until you reach hand snug.
5 on the forward. I'm doing some more on the forward.
Copy, Sunny.
6. 7. 8.
For those just tuning in, you're watching live coverage on NASA Plus of US EVA 91 and a view of NASA astronaut Suni Williams as she continues to work on removing and replacing a planar reflector used in communications for visiting vehicles. With the visiting vehicle just within arm's reach, the NASA SpaceX Dragon, the Crew 9 vehicle that arrived on station a couple of months ago, back in September, actually. Approaching 2 hours and 25 minutes into today's spacewalk. Joining Suni Williams is NASA astronaut Nick Hague. So as Williams is working on the planar reflector remove and replacement, astronaut Nick Hague is completing his patchwork of the NICER experiment. The NICER is an X-ray telescope that studies neutron stars, black holes, and other phenomena. That had thermal shields over the detectors, preventing sunlight from interfering with X-ray measurements, but those have since been damaged and deteriorated over time. So Hague has installed patches to help reduce that unwanted sunlight on the NICER experiment, also known as the Neutron Star Interior Composition Explorer. These are tasks 2 and 3 of today's assigned EVA after they successfully completed the removal and replacement of the RGA-2. And that is the rate gyro assembly number 2 that measures the rotational rate and gives rotational rate data of the International Space Station and the rate of change to better calculate the orientation of the orbiting laboratory.
Let's get gloves, dry house.
9 on the inboard. We still have a gap. They all have 9.
Copy, 9 on all, and at this point, this is where any little turn might reach that ham snug position, so just be careful as soon as you feel that stop.
10 on the forward. Little increase in running torque, 10.5, just a teeny bit.
Copy, little increase in running torque at 10.5.
Great communication there with Suni Williams, NASA astronaut, as she continues to put the replacement planar reflector in place, talking of the turns and torque used by her tools to affix that replacement of the planar reflector.
Nick,
just off the zenith
well.
port of the Harmony module.
When you're ready.
Copy. Heading that way.
And NICER team
11 on the
is
inboard.
happy with the work.
Standing.
And Suni,
Took as many photos as my finger would allow.
nice work, Nick. Suni, can we have you hold there for a second on the ratchet ups? We want to talk it over on the ground.
Yep.
And this view from the helmet camera of astronaut Suni Williams.
How close you think those bolts are to being flush and completely installed?
Yeah, I haven't done the aft one yet, but the forward one is about 1 millimeter. Inboard one, I can't look over there without getting too close, so I'm not looking, but it looks like the same height as the forward one. The aft one, I still have a couple more turns to do. I think I stopped at 9 there.
Okay, copy. Just stand by there for us and let us talk it over. Thanks.
Beautiful views from the helmet cam of Suni Williams as the International Space Station traversing some 260 miles over the South Pacific, just recently entering an orbital daytime, and a great view of the Earth from just below the vantage point of Suni Williams, just off the zenith port of the Harmony module. And you also heard communications with NASA astronaut Nick Hague as he was taking additional photos of his patchwork on the NICER experiment, the X-ray telescope that he installed with a T-handle tool. And you can see from Nick Hague's helmet camera just off on the left-hand side, just outside that NICER patchwork, as both continuing to work with teams here on the ground to complete what would be tasks 2 and 3 of today's EVA. And as these astronauts continue to monitor the progress and work with the ground teams in communication, we have now approached 2 hours and 30 minutes into US EVA number 91.
Leaving ALC2, back on the truss.
Copy, Nick. Once you get to your crew lock bag, we're going to have you swap out your NICER caddy. You can put that next to the crew lock bag on the same handrail, and then we're going to work the C2V2 cable relocate.
Sure.
Good job, Nick. Crushing it.
Unsteady. Oh, unsteady.
Exactly.
Okay, Sunny, I have some words.
Where are we over the Earth?
Some words for you with regards to this last turn. We have a request for you to try to use just the palm wheel on the last turn, and then if that is not possible, let us know, and we'll talk options. But we just want you to try to use for these 3 bolts the palm wheel only.
Okay, the aft one I have to catch up. Let me just do a couple turns on the last one. Catch up with the others. Okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
And then I will do that.
That's okay with us. Copy.
Actually, the 2 turns and there's no running torque on this one. We're doing a little bit more. There we go, right there. 2.5 turns on the aft. Pretty close, actually. The aft one looks good. Right, this forward one. Sort of hard with the palm wheel. Forward one is a little difficult with the palm wheel, Jeff.
Okay, copy, Sunny. Stand by.
Try the inboard one. Inboard one I could turn about a half a turn, then it gets sort of stiff. It's on here solidly. The only problem is it has the ability to move up and down a little bit because its bolts aren't flush all the way down.
Yeah, copy, Sunny. I see that it kind of moves up and down a little bit in your HECA view, so stand by. We're talking it with the MER.
Mr. Caddy's on the same handrail as the crew lock pad.
Copy, Nick. With that, we'll have you identify that C2V2 cable. It's going to be your cuff checklist page 6. Awesome. So for the order of ops here, you're going to release the truss wire tie just inboard of the C2V2 stanchion, and then release the cables from that, leaving the wire tie on the truss. Then you'll release the coils from the base of the antenna stanchion, and then you'll route the cable over to handrail 3002.
Okay, and work.
And Suni, after some discussion, we see that you're unable to really turn those bolts that last little turn with the palm wheel itself. And so it's best judgment here. We want you to be very light on the ratchet handle itself to try to get those bolts flush, but there is increased risk, obviously, to breaking the bolt. So very light, and if you think it, in your judgment, it's too much force building up, then just stop.
Okay.
And there you heard great communication between the ground teams here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room and NASA astronaut Suni Williams as she continues to tighten down the replacement unit of the planar reflector that allows for greater communications capabilities for visiting vehicles. Prior to that communication, you heard from NASA astronaut Nick Hague, also on EVA with Suni Williams, and that the completion of the NICER patch is complete, and that he is now moving on to the next step of today's EVA, the next project of today's EVA.
I think that one, the front one's pretty flush. I did like 2 turns, and then I could definitely feel a increase in the running torque. It was pretty light in the beginning, so that looks pretty good.
Happy. Good work.
And good communication again from Suni as she continues to work on the planar reflector. And then for Nick Hague is translating across the International Space Station once again to prepare for the alpha magnetic spectrometer patch panel for future upgrades. But in order to gain access to the alpha magnetic spectrometer, you saw a moment ago just the translation on the screen of needing to relocate a C2V2 cable. And that common communications for visiting vehicles, or C2V2 communications, is another communications component for visiting vehicles on approach and arriving to the International Space Station.
Here we go, about 1.5.
An expected loss of signal as communications satellites have signals transferring, and there you can see a great look inside the International Space Station Flight Control Room and Mission Control Center in Houston, Texas. And as we start from the bottom of the screen, Flight Director Elias Mirmo, and to support the Flight Director for today's EVA, and Nicole McElroy sitting immediately to his right. And further down the aisle is NASA astronaut Jessica Whitner, who is the spacewalk communicator and relaying information up to the International Space Station and today's spacewalkers in Suni Williams and Nick Hague.
Once you got it going.
Just behind them in the row
All right, Nick,
Behind the
back
flight
with you
director
after
is
the handover.
Farouk Sabor, who just stood up there for a brief moment. He is the spacewalk lead officer in relaying information to both the flight director and the spacewalk communicator in McElroy and Whitner of all the procedures and updates as the EVA progresses along.
Came about the same amount of running torque at the end that was hard, and I didn't want to do it any further. And as I move the tether point, it doesn't go up and down anymore. So it's pretty much flush and tight.
Copy, Sunny. That sounds like a good config and a good install. And we're still out your Hecka cam right now. We have a couple more seconds till KU comes back. But looks like a good install, or sounds like a good install, so we can tend the ratchet wrench and wipe back to crew lock bag.
Okay. I'm going to move the tether point to the tape tether. Doing stuff.
And Sunny, we're actually checking with the back now to make sure they're good with the install as well. But that bag ret is going to be the ret that's on the spare planar reflector now is going to be removed from the tether point and then attached to the tape cover to remove the tape cover.
Roger.
That said, we just got your Hecka view back, and we wanted to see what that blue bag was and whether or not it's clearance to Dragon. We just kind of have a funny camera angle here.
Goodbye. What did you just say?
Yeah, Sunny. We were just noting the white bag with like the blue stripe or the blue lip on it, kind of floating. Looks like floating out of the crew lock bag.
Just there. Get this working, and then I'll be back with you. So, good luck.
Okay, Sunny. Yeah, we're good now. We noted it. We just got your Hecka view back.
So as you can see it in my Hecka, now this doesn't move.
Yeah, that's good words, and we see it, and it is a good install. Backroom's happy as well, so we are good to clean up. So we will, when you're ready, release that ret and attach it to the tape cover, and then you can remove the tape cover from the spare reflector.
Okay, it is being removed right now. It's off.
Awesome. You can tend all that back to the crew lock bag, and then we'll get your camera out to take some photos.
For those just tuning in on NASA Plus, you're watching live coverage of US EVA 91, currently being performed by NASA astronaut and commander of Expedition 72, Suni Williams, and NASA astronaut Nick Hague. Just moments ago, you heard great words from both the ground teams here in Mission Control Houston at the International Space Station Flight Control Room and astronaut Suni Williams on the successful installation of the replacement of the planar reflector. The original was contaminated, and it has since been unbolted and replaced with a new unit, in which you see from the viewpoint of an external camera aboard the International Space Station of Suni Williams now taking pictures of the work site and that completed process. Coming up on 2 hours and 43 minutes of today's US EVA. For NASA astronaut Nick Hague, he is currently working on a relocation of a C2V2 cable after completing his most recent work, which was placing patches for portions of the damaged NICER experiment, the X-ray telescope aboard the International Space Station, and now has translated or moved to a position on the truss of the orbiting laboratory to relocate the common communications for visiting vehicles cable, C2V2, to allow for greater access to what will be the alpha magnetic spectrometer, in which both he and Suni Williams are scheduled to come back together and work on for today's EVA tasks. So to recap, the first task for today was completed, the replace of the rate gyro assembly number 2. And Suni Williams completing right now and wrapping up task number 2, which is the removal and replacement of the planar reflector on an International Space Station docking adapter, the zenith port of the Harmony module, and for Nick Hague, completing the patches for the damaged NICER experiment.
Cable I'm rerouting. And they run, not run on top of each other, the two cables across 3002.
Okay, we copy, Nick.
At the base of the C2V2 stanchion on the 2 wire ties that I released, the cable that was on top, once I released the cable underneath, I put 3 twists to restrain the cable that was on top, so it will now be on the bottom.
Okay.
Okay, Nick, we're good with that config. Thanks.
Yes, I got pictures for you.
Copy, Sunny. We're good with those photos. We can get a glove and hap check one more time from you, just looking for any contamination or discoloration on your gloves.
The gloves look nominal. I have.
Okay, with that, you have a go to egress the APFR and reposition below it recommended handrail 1616, just forward of the APFR.
Okay, I'm back on 1616.
Copy, Sunny. At this point, we'll take a inventory of your crew lock bag, and you can put it in the HECA if you can.
On the outside of the crew lock bag, I have integrated sets as well as a large, small adjustable. I open everything up so you can see it. You want to just look through the HECA.
Checking, Sunny.
The only things I took out was a wipe that had the spare in it, and that empty spare wipe is here. I have the other wipe that has the old one. The only other thing that I took out was the ratchet. The ratchet in the palm wheel, 2 inches right where my finger is. other thing I brought in, of course, though, is the little piece of tape cover, which is on that Sept, which had the new reflector on it.
Okay, Sunny, sorry, I was just talking with the team here. So we just want to verify that none of the contingency tools that were underneath those wipes ever came out of the bag.
Nope, they never came out of the bag, and I closed the bag as soon as I took the tool out. The bag was not open at all during the event.
Okay, copy. We also want you to free up your trash bag for the upcoming AMS steps. So we'll have you take that that socket that you temp stowed in there and put it back on your PGT.
Okay.
Okay, Jeff. I've got the slack tied up at the base of the C2V2 stanchion. It is secured by 3 twists. There's 3 twists between the top cable and the bottom cable in both the wire tie locations that I reused. I took some closeout photos.
Okay, copy, Nick. We were just taking a look at your HECA view. We're just taking a look at your HECA view, Nick, and it looks like the C2V2 cables look good to us, so we can move on to some AMS setup. You're going to go back and retrieve crew lock bag from that handrail, and then we'll get you translating to the AMS support worksite.
Okay, work.
6-inch wobble is on my PGT, Jeff. Trash bag is clean.
I would copy, Sunny, that your socket's back on the PGT. We're just verifying that we are good for you to start heading out.
Black bag is on my BRT.
All right, copy, Nick. We're going to have you translate to S1 Phase 2 Zenith via that long handrail you were next to earlier. It's handrail 3210. And I have a warning. There's a potential MMOD strike on the Zenith end of that handrail. We'd like you to just stop there on the nadir side of the handrail and take a look and give us an inspection if you can.
Got it. And work.
Sunny, for you, with that, we're good. You can bundle your crew lock bag to the APFR and then work to remove the APFR and stow that whole thing on your BRT. It was a good install of the planar reflector.
And work.
Excellent work, Sunny.
Thank you.
Great communications there between NASA astronauts Suni Williams and Nick Hague out on US EVA Walk 91 in relay with communications to the ground crew here at the International Space Station Flight Control Room, as Suni has completed the install of the planar reflector on the Zenith, excuse me, close to the Zenith port of the Harmony module.
Okay,
and
copy. We can actually see
now
that
wrapping
well
up her
in your HECA
workspace,
view.
whereas
Can
for
you give us
NASA astronaut Nick Hague,
and,
recently just completed
well, we
the
can kind of see the look.
readjustment of a C2V2 cable that will allow for the alpha magnetic spectrometer to have easier access for both he and Suni Williams here in just a few moments as a part of their planned EVA tasks for the day. Just a little over 2 hours and 53 minutes into today's planned spacewalk that has now included the successful removal and replacement of the planar reflector as mentioned on the International Space Station docking adapter Harmony module, the replacement of the rate gyro assembly number 2, and patches for the damaged NICER X-ray telescope experiment.
Steer you guys and future crew away from that spot. So that's you can continue translating the AMS support work site, and then we'll stow the crew lock bag there, and just obviously avoid the zenith side of that handrail.
Got it.
Just BRT crew lock bag bundled out of the lift on my BRT.
Copy, Sunny. We're going to have you stand by there for a second. We're having a discussion about a TA clamp. If you can just stand by there in the front of PMA.
It just came undone and I redid it. That's right in front of me. That's the one you're talking about.
And Sunny, there was another TA clamp up and to the right of that right handrail that was kind of in your HECA view earlier. That looked like it was loose or disconnected.
I'm looking. One over here.
Yeah, Sunny, that looks like the one.
Okay, it's close. Anything else? I'm looking too.
And Nick, we want to go ahead and power off your HECA for a little bit just for thermal constraints.
Okay, HECA's coming off. Green light is out.
All right, Sunny, we're going to track that as a get-ahead completed. And so with that, you can start your translation back to the starboard seat of cart.
On my way.
What are you doing, get ahead? We're achiever.
And Sunny, I have a verify step while you're moving. Just verify that your tethers clear the CBM pedals and other PMA hardware as you're transitioning back inboard. And then you also have that green hook location on the lab that you want to pick up.
You're watching live NASA Plus coverage of US EVA 91, currently underway with NASA astronaut and commander of Expedition 72, Suni Williams, and NASA astronaut Nick Hague. This view coming from the helmet camera of Suni Williams. She just recently completed one of a handful of tasks for today, and she just recently did the removal and replacement of the planar reflector, just alongside an international docking adapter, the zenith or space-facing side of the Harmony module. And in those fields of view, you saw that the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft was right within reach, and that spacecraft belonging to Crew 9, who arrived on station back in September. So now Suni will be joining NASA astronaut Nick Hague in preparation for preparing the alpha magnetic spectrometer for future upgrades. And what they will do once they arrive to that payload, it's a particle physics detector that looks for dark matter and antimatter and missing matter from a module attached just to the outside of the International Space Station. And this is the first of several planned upgrades for this spectrometer, and that'll include upgrading the additional radiators for heat rejection and a silicone tracker layer that'll also significantly increase the data acceptance of the alpha magnetic spectrometer, or AMS, as you're hearing over the communications between the two astronauts and the ground teams here inside the International Space Station Flight Control Room. Now 2 hours and 59 minutes into today's EVA.